38-year-old Army veteran Mark Duran recently wrote his first original song for guitar. He says it's a musical portrait of his basset hound lumbering around the backyard. Duran is a graduate of Guitars for Vets, a program that started in Milwaukee in 2007 and now has chapters in more than 20 states. The program, that's growing by word of mouth, offers free lessons and a guitar to military veterans who've suffered trauma. Duran was referred to the program by his VA psychiatrist as an alternative mental health treatment.
It's nice to have that vibration come inside of you. And realizing it's nice to have it in your arms because it feels a lot like my M4. It has that same tactile feeling of safety of having your weapon with you.
Duran served in Afghanistan with the Army Military Police. In September 2005, he was in the lead vehicle in a unit on patrol in Helmand Province. Duran says it was routine until the crowds began to scatter. That's when a car drove right up to the front of the convoy and blew up.
That's the last thing I remember. I remember seeing a little kid on a bike nearby, and that's the last image of him disappearing and me going out. And woke up minutes later. Medic was working on me. The first words out of his mouth was like, "Mark, you're okay. You have you have your arms and legs, so you'll be fine." And that it was, I guess, the criteria.
Like many veterans, Duran is a lifelong soldier struggling to adjust in a civilian world. He has 3 problems that have become hallmarks of modern military service: traumatic brain injury, chronic pain, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Duran says he didn't recognize the person he'd become when he first came home from war. He was angry and depressed, and he lashed out at coworkers, his 10-year-old son, and his wife.
And she was so strong to deal with that and to be with me this whole time. You should interview the wives more so than the soldiers because they can tell you the true story. We're just kind of reacting to life because they know what you were before, what you were after, and her main frustration is, why didn't they tell us this?
All right, now take your middle finger and put that in the same fret, second fret, first string.
Tonight, a group of mostly Vietnam veterans have gathered at a residential home on the VA grounds in Milwaukee. They've all been referred to Guitars for Vets by their doctors or social workers. Donna Smaglick says she was sexually assaulted by military personnel in the 1970s. She didn't report it and started drinking to cope with the trauma. Smaglick says learning the guitar has given her some peace.
It makes me feel better. It really does. Everybody's so good here. They really are. I've been going through depression and physical problems, but I'm fighting it.
I think one of the things that really makes this program work is we're not there to evaluate these people. We're simply there to teach them guitar.
That's Patrick Nettesheim, a Guitars for Vets co-founder and instructor. He says the veterans benefit from the soothing effects of music and the knowledge that if they want to talk, someone is there to listen.
They are our brothers and sisters, and they volunteered for their service, they volunteered for their combat, but they didn't volunteer for a life of trauma. And that's where we as a society, I strongly believe, need to step it up and take care of them for as long as their lives are.
A research team at the local VA in Milwaukee is studying the effectiveness of guitar lessons as a treatment program. Guitars for Vets, which is totally reliant on donations, is hoping the research will lead to federal funding. I'm Erin Toner, 89.7 WUWM.
The VA hospital in Milwaukee is shortening its residential mental health treatment programs. Doctors there say the shortened stay from 90 to 45 days will mean more intense treatment and will make it easier for veterans to transition back into society sooner. Some patients worry about being pushed out too soon. WUWM's Aaron Toner has more.
Yeah, that's an eagle. Isn't it pretty?
Pretty.
Joe Mitchell is back on full-time daddy duty about a week after leaving a residential treatment program at the VA hospital in Milwaukee. The 30-year-old Army veteran was treated for alcohol and drug abuse, which he says was directly related to his time in Iraq and Afghanistan. 5 years after serving, he's still haunted by the numerous casualties his unit suffered.
Grief and guilt and some shame for some of the things that happened over there and some of the stuff I had to witness. It was pretty tough.
A few months ago, Mitchell started smoking pot and drinking, which resulted in a couple of DUIs and car accidents. In September, he checked into the residential program at the Milwaukee VA, where he found support and felt useful.
Maybe you're a different part of your recovery than somebody else, and they're struggling. And for that day, you've got the right thing to say to pull them up.
Mitchell credits his recovery to his 10-week stay in the program. But early next year, the Milwaukee VA will reduce the time patients like Mitchell stay in the program from an average of 90 days down to 45 days. Karen Birdie is a clinical psychologist at the hospital. She says this is not a budget-cutting move by the VA. Rather, it's an effort to deliver a more beneficial, intensive treatment program over a shorter duration.
It's not designed to provide care from the beginning throughout the complete resolution of all symptoms. Residential care is really designed to be a more intensive level of care to help someone through a difficult time and prepare them for continuing their care on an outpatient basis.
Birdie says the shortened program will offer a more rigorous psychotherapy regimen and activities to promote a healthy, structured lifestyle.
I would view that structure as a good thing because certainly we do need it.
27-year-old Victoria Donewald was an Air Force medic from 2002 to 2006. She's homeless and being treated for bipolar disorder and heroin addiction. Donewald says the 45-day program may be long enough to get sober, but it's too short for vets like her to get healthy, avoid relapse, and prepare to reintegrate back into society.
As far as like the mental healing, maybe long-term damage from like malnutrition, that can't be remedied that fast. The VA is like its own world, and veterans like me feel safer being around other veterans, and especially on the grounds where there's federal police there, you know.
There is no federal policy regarding residential lengths of stay, though most VA hospitals have transitioned to the 45-day model, including the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center in Chicago. Anthony Peterson, who oversees the center's PTSD program, says the key is providing intensive and effective treatment so veterans can move on with their lives.
They have goals, they have dreams, they have jobs. And if we're able to meet their needs where they're at, so it minimizes the other disruptions in their life, then really that's what it's about.
Officials at the Milwaukee VA say they're confident they'll be able to accomplish the new shortened program by better managing schedules and extending therapists' hours. And they stress treatment will continue to be tailored to each patient. For NPR News, I'm Erin Toner in Milwaukee.
As the U.S. winds down military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan and troops come home, many are eager to start work in the civilian sector. But it's been tough. The federal government reports the unemployment rate for young veterans has hovered around 30% this year. Faced with this grim statistic, a new group based in Milwaukee called Vet Transfer is helping veterans start their own businesses. It aims to connect veteran entrepreneurs to financing and equipping them with the resources and knowledge to get their venture off the ground. WUWM's Erin Toner reports.
Marine Corps veteran John Miller is the founder of a company called Illumitech. His consigned artists elaborately engrave windshields for motorcycles that are also lit with fiber optics, so bikes are more visible. Miller's own bike, a Killer Harley, is on display in a downtown Milwaukee shopping mall. Onlookers marvel at the airbrushed red and gold flames, shiny steel skulls, and images of the Grim Reaper. Miller, who served in the 70s, wasn't injured in the military, but a decade ago he was badly hurt in a crash that totaled his Harley. That's how he got the idea for Illumitech.
I got run over on my Harley, and then the person that ran me over put their truck in reverse and backed back over me to see what they'd hit. And I decided that I would never have somebody say, "I didn't see you" again.
So Miller put all of his savings into starting his fledgling business in the motorcycle market. But he wanted to expand to reach new customers, people who drive semis, boats, and ATVs. Miller brought his business plan here to Vet Transfer, a new business incubator in downtown Milwaukee.
15,000 square foot. We got a great deal on it. We have a nice cafe for people to sit around, talk, as well as hold meetings in a more informal manner.
Ken Mishka is one of 5 former business executives who received a $3 million grant from the federal VA to open and operate Vet Transfer.
What we're trying to do is when somebody has a good concept that we think it's going to work and they're truly passionate about doing it, to inject a little bit of money at exactly the right time without all of the strings and hassles that your normal venture capital or that kind of investment would come with.
Vet Transfer itself doesn't provide financing. Rather, it connects clients to investors who are looking to support veteran entrepreneurs. The staff, located in a former Old Navy store, also helps vets navigate government regulations, and they get free internet and office space. Mishka says the program has worked with more than 100 veterans in just 4 months.
We have everybody from a dredger to, we've got a photographer, to Illumitech, which is a little bit more high-tech manufacturing.
John Miller says as Illumitech grows, he'd like to hire more than 100 new employees, especially young veterans who are returning from the wars injured or simply cannot find jobs in this economy.
We have so many kids coming back that are disabled, so many kids coming back unemployed, and they volunteered to fight for what we have here, and them coming back unemployed isn't fair.
Former Marine Asun Truth knows what it's like to struggle in the job market. Since coming home in the 1980s, he's been a repo man, a cab driver, a personal trainer. But now he's hoping entrepreneur will stick with the help of Vet Transfer. He's preparing to launch a website that will let users exchange tickets and coupons.
What they helped me do is refine my business model and really implement a lean startup strategy. I really appreciate the input from these guys.
Truth says if his business goes well, he'd like to give jobs to fellow veterans, men and women who proved they can work hard.
Guys who know how to perform 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. Guys who don't know how to quit. Guys who don't know how to lose.
If Vet Transfer is successful after 2 years, the VA plans to launch a second business incubator site in the Twin Cities. For NPR News, I'm Erin Toner in Milwaukee.